I'm happy to be here. And when Whitney approached me about the project, I have to say, actually, it was a great, it was not just a great idea, but it was actually very practical and I think very realistic. And I've worked with a lot of veterans in a lot of different capacities. And I have to say, one thing that keeps coming up is the idea of, reintegration and the crossroads, I think, really, that someone's at when they separate from the military. And I think it has a real, the reintegration process is a real profound determinant on really where someone goes after that. I think for anyone, I think that's the case, let alone for veterans, returning back, being exposed to combat and then having to reintegrate into a different culture. One that's not only a military, but also one that was overseas, and now having to reintegrate again back. And the rules are sort of different here. I mean, I know people might not want to say that, but I think back here it's very, very different than it was in the military. And there are certain things. I mean, it's the rules. I hate to say rules, but whether it's just simply as going back to school or getting a job or just waiting online at a local store, there's a certain level of accountability that I think a lot of veterans are used to in the military that not everyone else who's walking around here as just a civilian is actually aware of. So in fairness to everyone who's involved, I think it's even more about just awareness. And I think, the VA, I think, is doing their best, but at the same time, I do have to say, a lot of what the VA is doing is very good on paper, but it might not always translate to the best individualized treatment plan. This is something that Whitney and I spoke about how important that is, not just providing therapy, but also providing reintegration for school services, not even just job placement, but I know for myself, when I came out of college, simple things like just how to prepare for an interview, how to make a resume, right? I mean, these are big things, and I think that, that's difficult for everyone, let alone if you're coming back, as a combat veteran, I think, or just, veteran in general, it's actually really not that easy, it's much harder. And I think the piece that really, I have to say complicates it or makes it much more difficult for veterans is that, part of the nature of reintegrating is one of the hallmarks, whether it is, of course we all know about PTSD and, TBIs, and then there's substance use, depression, anxiety. I think one of the hardest parts is just asking for help. And after spending so many years in the military and then sort of coming back, I think this is, I think, the piece where Heroes United really wants to fill the gap, is that I think veterans really do need the option of going a non-federal or non-VA way for services, because I think a lot happens in that period when someone's enlisted, goes overseas, and then actually separates, and it's sort of healthy, I think, as well too. Part of the program is to encourage veterans to continue going to the VA, but I think just giving people an option, I think in and of itself is therapeutic and just builds empowerment. And I think actually it's only fair to actually offer that to veterans and to let them make the choice.